So welcome to the June 2022 NAMM show. We are here with some of the most colorful instruments and some of the most interesting MIDI instruments that are around. So we tried to group people together, and this group of MIDI controllers is actually kind of focused on doing things that are playful, I think, right? So Troy, I'm going to start with you. You're all the way down there. You have a box there that is blinking and blipping and doing all sorts of stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, hi, I'm Troy, and this is the Flipflops. So the Flipflops was really inspired by my love of synthesizers. You know, I've been into synthesizers for decades, and I've always thought they were as much toys as they were production tools. And I thought there was really a market for designing a device that was half toy, half synthesizer. So we've really tried to take the complexity out of synthesizers, leave all the fun aspects, and really make them durable and safe for kids.
Awesome. I didn't know it was possible to play a watermelon, but I found out that it was. Can you tell us a little bit about playing a watermelon and how you make that possible?
Absolutely. I'm Sasha from Playtronica, and we make these MIDI devices that can transform your touch or touch to some other object into MIDI note. And watermelon is just one of the examples. We did lots of instruments from objects around. And I would say the main idea is to go out of the box and to create instruments from the things around us. That's why we're using those small PCBs to connect to the MIDI device, to the online synthesizer or app, whatever, and play. And so with this one, you can hook up to 16 different objects. With this one, there would be only one, probably a human. And then by touching a person, you can play scales and tonalities. Here you can select them.
So do you find that people are getting these and just using them for interesting things? What's the most interesting use case you've seen of some of these things?
Oh, that's a good question, because we thought that we were making something for musical education, but in the reality, people like to experiment with sound. They like to experiment with sound by touching other things, and that's already a great experience. And I don't know, the most interesting project was when we connected a human body artist, which was lying in the museum naked, and we were playing on different parts of him by touching these parts. So I think our body is an instrument, so let's do it with MIDI.
That's great. That's awesome. That is absolutely beautiful. So, my friend, Aviv.
Yes.
You are here. You're from Big Ear Games.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about Big Ear and what your inspiration was.
Okay, so I'm Aviv from Big Ear Games, and Big Ear is an app that was created because we felt it was a need to inspire kids to get into the how music works part, and of course into composition with that. So we know that the music theory and composition are usually considered to be very hard subjects. So we went into gamifying the whole process and making it as simple as that anyone can play it and learn it at the same time. So one of the interesting things here, for example, is that you can, so there's a dictation, and then you have to put the notes in the right place, playing with them, they have colors, and to activate then our friend here to jump over. So you basically build songs chunk by chunk from the note level. And one interesting thing also here is that when you compose your own song, it will create sets of puzzles for other people to play around, for other users.
So there's collaboration.
So there's, generated user-generated content and collaboration. And this is like good for anyone to play just like that, like for any consumer. But we also created an educational version that teachers can use it in schools with their own students and assign to them tasks and receive and also get the evaluation of how the kids were doing, which
So-
is a great thing.
Yeah. So how do I think there's MIDI relates to this in a couple of ways.
Right.
First of all, the sounds in there, if I'm not mistaken, were actually come from Native Instruments. Isn't that correct?
Right.
Yeah. So Native Instruments is a MIDI Association member and worked with Aviv on this. But there's some other things that MIDI does in here.
Right.
as
So
well.
we have our virtual piano,
Mhm.
but if you connect the device into a MIDI instrument, you can control it from the device itself and not from the MIDI, not from the virtual piano. So basically, if you see there are some effects here that make you understand or decide which note you are actually playing, which is showing here. So
Can you talk a little bit on the Blipbox about what the MIDI connectivity is?
So on our original Flipflops here, it's only a MIDI in. So the fact that it has built-in sequences, it has hundreds of built-in sequences, so it's easy for kids to instantly start making music. But we really want it to be a real synthesizer also. So with that MIDI in, any device out there, whether it be a keyboard or a computer or even a drum machine, it can just instantly synchronize and integrate into your studio, or maybe just have an old piece of gear lying around that you can play with the Flipflops.
I think we all have old pieces of gear lying around. I think that's probably true. And Sasha, what about you? Talk a little bit about what was the technology for connectivity, and how do you work with that?
Well, for us, MIDI was essential because first of all, we wanted to make it as much affordable as possible. So not everyone has a tablet, or especially in school, or a synthesizer. So we found out that the Chrome has this extension of Web MIDI a few years ago, and that was a big inspiration to create an online sampler from us with our sounds, but also to collect free online synths. And we have this page, and we have thousands of people going there to play online, and most of them they work with MIDI. So it's a great opportunity to use this and just to go online and select the X7 and to play with via internet. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I was on a couple of panels yesterday with A3E, and one of the panels on education, they were all talking about the fact that online DAWs are getting very popular. You've got Soundtrap from Spotify, and you've got BandLab, and they're being used in schools. One of the things that we keep talking about here with MIDI is accessibility. And one of the things that's important about browser-based applications is all you need is anything that will run a browser. And we basically, a lot of people have a phone, or they have the iPad, or they have a, I went out, no plug to Walmart, but I wanted to find the cheapest Chromebook I could find. So I went to Walmart and I bought a $149 Chromebook, and it works. It would work with this because it's Web MIDI is on. If you can run Chrome, you're good. In fact, we're recording on we're using the internet right now, and we're using Web MIDI. We're recording on Midiable, which the MIDI Association actually uses for all of our meetings. We use it kind of like you would use Zoom or Teams or something like that, but it allows us also to send Web MIDI over the internet, and so we can connect together, and we can have a very serious business meeting, and then we can kind of jam a little bit together, which is a lot of fun.
That's the world I want to live in. Yeah.
That is a world I want to live in too. And one of the other things we talked about yesterday was the fact that there is latency in the world, right? The latency is a reality. I explained yesterday. I played on some big stages, and if you play on a very big stage, you might have 80 milliseconds of delay between you and the bass player. I mean, it physical distance, it's simply a matter of mathematics of how far away you are. But what you can do is you can find clever ways to get around the latency or to actually compensate for the latency. And then there's new things like Jack Trip that are coming up, and Starlink things when when we get uploads and downloads. All of that, the world is going to get faster and better. And so we need to start designing products that are geared for that future. So let's kind of wrap things up. Is that, Troy, anything, what do you see in the future? You know, are you planning, you're here at the 2022 NAMM show, you're hoping to come back in April. Did you have a good time at the NAMM show?
A great time, yeah, a great time. One of the things that we like to see is that right now I think there's the music industry and there's consumer electronics, and there's this growing industry right in between where they're not exactly music products, they're not exactly consumer products. So this whole boundary between consuming music and making music is really getting blurred. And I think that's a lot of fun. I think that's really opening up a lot of new opportunities for companies and products.
And Sasha, what are you looking forward to in the future?
Well, we currently releasing a new device called Orbiter, and it play with colors. So I'm really now into colors and music, and I did some podcasts. I did a web app. It's a very inspirational theme for me. And this NAMM, we're just collecting emails, contacts, feedbacks for this new device, and I hope it would be released in the coming months. So
if people want to get in contact with you, what's the website that they should go to?
They should go to orbiter.playtronica.com or just playtronica.com and sign up for the updates.
Yeah, we're the MIDI Association. It's okay to blatantly pitch your products here. Well, that's what we're all about. And Aviv, what about you?
Yeah, I expect that the threshold of making music or music creativity, as we mentioned, is going down, and more people will be making music, and the new music is going to come also from that. That's what I believe.
Yeah, and of course, that's everybody who's here at NAMM. Our one job, if we had one job that we had to do, it would be to make more music makers. Because if we make more music makers, then they're going to enjoy music, and we know that, I firmly believe that making music enriches your lives in a way that nothing else does. It is a fundamental part of the human experience, and once you've experienced that joy of making music, it changes your life, and you're never the same, but you are better for it. So with that, we'll end it, and we'll see you again in April of 2023.